This week, spotting early signs of dementia, giving the banks the fingerprint, and man falls off skateboard. Here's something that splits opinion. You either love these or you hate them, depending really on whether you ride one or whether you've had a close encounter with one. These e-scooters are powered by electric motors, and that leads to something really interesting that not many people know. In the UK, these things are not legal on public roads, and they are not legal on public pavements. So, although they're getting more and more popular, and companies are hiring them out to ride on private land, like here at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in London, where they're geo-fenced and speed limited, the law varies hugely around the world. One of the issues is that these things can reach speeds of over 30 miles an hour, which is very cool, but also very dangerous, again, depending on your experiences with them. Not long ago, presenter Emily Hartridge died whilst riding an e-scooter. It was the first fatal collision involving one in Britain. There have been similar fatal cases around Europe. In France, there have been 3 e-scooter deaths in the last 4 months, and there have even been deaths in Los Angeles, where these are completely legal. So, whether it's e-scooters, segways, one-wheelers or e-skateboards, there's a lot of confusion over the legality of these new modes of transport, as Omar Mehtab has been finding out.
Here at one of the busiest intersections in London, the Metropolitan Police are on the lookout for electrically powered scooters. These eco-friendly and easy-to-ride vehicles have exploded in popularity and are rapidly transforming the makeup of road traffic in cities around the world. However, as Spencer pointed out earlier, with e-scooters freely available to buy in stores, many people don't know that they're actually illegal to ride on public streets.
When I bought it online, they should have told us that they're illegal to ride it here. I just spent £500 for nothing, basically.
Problem is, these e-scooters are electrically powered, so they're classed as motor vehicles, which means you can't ride them on pavements or in bike lanes. And to ride them on roads, you need insurance, licensing, tax, things you can't get for light e-vehicles at the moment. And if you get caught, well, in the UK, you could get up to 6 penalty points on your driving licence and a fine of up to £300.
Stop Stay was just about education, was about letting them know you can't ride these things on the road, you can't use these things on the road. Recently, just down the road there on Rosemary Avenue, there was a failed to stop collision involving a e-scooter and a 125cc scooter. I think it sends out the message that this needs to stop. These vehicles can only be used on private property or land.
But there's some confusion in the UK. The law states that personal transport devices powered by motors are prohibited for use on roads, pavements and cycle lanes. However, in the different categories listed, they don't specifically mention e-skateboards, and that is catching some people out. This man was stopped by the police on his way to work, given a written warning, and while he got away without the hefty fine, he was informed that his e-skateboard was illegal to ride.
All the information I can find is that these ones are not illegal, like the electric skateboard is in the grey area, kind of. There's not really legislation that actually ban it. Until today, when the police stopped me, I'm like, what? Very upset. I bought this, it cost me a lot of money. I've been riding it for nearly 5 months now. No issues at all, no accident, no issues. And now, from tomorrow, I'm gonna need to, from this afternoon, I have to take the ground. Exactly.
There will be queries regards to e-skateboards as well as e-scooters and other types of powered transporters, but we recognise that there was a growing trend with the use of e-scooters around London and an awareness that people weren't necessarily educated in the fact that they are actually illegal to use on the roads and footpaths. So we have issued a number of fines and also seized some e-scooters, but we are maintaining that message that we would like to educate members of the public first and foremost, and sort of spread that message wide that they are actually illegal to ride on the roads, on the pavement or in cycle lanes.
However, the UK isn't the only country that's grappling with restrictions on light e-vehicles. In Paris, authorities have put down strict regulations. From next month, there will be a 12-mile-per-hour speed limit and a €135 fine for riding them on pavements. There's even a €35 fine for anti-social parking. But for enthusiasts, these restrictions are the last thing that they want to hear. So I've come to an event in Paris to find out what e-skateboarders from around the world think about the regulations being imposed on them. And there's tons of people here. There's so many boards that go up to 50 miles per hour. I don't know why you need to go that fast.
People can just ride them and get to work, go shopping, do their normal lives, because this is such a better way to do things. We want to take cars off the road, we want to take pollution off the road, we want to get these vehicles in, because this is the future.
Regulations around the world are starting to tighten up.
They will limit the electric skateboarders, electric scooters to 20 kilometers per hour. It's really slow. Can you imagine going, because there is no bike lane everywhere in the city, or in Paris, for example, there is no bike lane in every street, so it's getting really dangerous if you're going at 20 kilometers on the street.
Your boards here go up to what, 50 miles per hour?
Yeah.
So you're saying don't be a crazy guy, but then 50 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's crazy. But you have to have full protection and like try it on a street without any cars and stuff, so and sure it's, yeah.
In Melbourne, for instance, which is a really big scene in Australia, there's a policeman that's in that electric skateboard riders group. He cruises around with everyone and there's no problems, because what he says is that as long as you're a reasonable citizen, you're behaving yourself, you wear protection, you're not causing problems, no one cares. It's safe, everyone's happy.
So, how safe are they? It can't be that hard to ride one of these, right?
A little bit of throttle on.
Are you doing that? Are you
I'm
doing
doing
that?
that. I'm doing that.
Okay. And as you can see, it isn't the easiest thing to use. And even seasoned riders can have trouble staying on. This is the thing. People can just get aboard, you know, you don't need a license, you don't need insurance. So then does that make that safe enough to drive out in the road or on the pavement? Do you not need a little bit of training first or something, or just a piece of paper to say, yes, I can operate this thing safely? Because then otherwise, you're going to crash, you know, into something or someone. Back in the UK, we contacted the Department for Transport, and they told us that they are actively examining how these light e-vehicles can be regulated for safe use on the roads. But for now, they are still illegal. So this is Michael. He's the one who first introduced me to e-skateboards, and he is a part of the community. So that is the official line of the Met. They're illegal to use on the roads and on pavements. What do you think of that?
I mean, they're not wrong. As a mechanically propelled vehicle, they are illegal on the road because we don't have things like insurance or licenses for these devices. The problem is there's no legislation at the moment for that. So we can't get insurance, we can't get licenses, and at the exponential rate that the boards are being used, legislation needs to be put in place so we can get insurance. It's not like we don't want to, it's just we can't. If we can legally ride on the road with every other road user, whatever the cost, if it's legal, I'd say go for it.
Right, Michael, thanks a lot for chatting to me. Appreciate it. Now, this is the BBC. It's private land, so I'm out of here.
Hello and welcome to the Week in Tech. It's the week that face recognition software was found being used in London's King's Cross. Described as alarming by some, property developer Argent says it uses the tech to ensure public safety, but did not reveal further details. Meanwhile, just a few hundred miles outside of Hollywood, witness NASA JPL's lemur climbing robot hard at work. This 16-fingered cybernaut has been scaling the steep walls of California's Death Valley. And from outer space to inner self. Meet Mindar, the robotic Buddhist priest. Yes, Douglas Adams was right, the electric monk now exists and is available for sermons at Kyoto's Kodaiji Temple in Japan. Based on Canon, Goddess of Mercy, Lord of Compassion, it's hoped the chilled-out android will help attract more people to the essence of Buddhist teachings. Some gentle meditation. A great way to prepare for a heavy night raving with a DJ that's truly out of this world, orbiting the Earth at about 17,000 miles per hour. Italian astronaut Luca Parmitano played a live set from the International Space Station to a cruise ship full of clubbers. The first DJ in orbit took lessons prior to going into space, saying he wanted to celebrate the common language of music. Imagine being there when the bass dropped from about 250 miles.
Right, let's talk money now, or more specifically, plastic. Now, the last time technology touched one of these things was more than 10 years ago when they made them contactless. Wave and Pay uses NFC or near-field communication technology, and it's really convenient, but not exactly secure. Not if you have your wallet nicked. Anyway, that's why they limit contactless payments to £30, or roughly the equivalent in other currencies. But that limit could be about to be extended by quite a chunk if a new security feature is added. Dan Simmons has been invited to test the UK's first debit card that can read your fingerprint.
It's a big moment in the world of money. NatWest and RBS are launching this, although the real-life ones will probably be smaller. And they should help wave goodbye to fraud.
What we're learning from customers is they want experiences to be simple and easy. This means they don't have to remember their PIN. It means from a safety and security perspective, they don't need to worry about standing at a cash point and someone looking over their shoulder and seeing what their PIN is. And we think customers are really going to enjoy the experience.
Could they not get an imprint of
No, it's
my
not
fingerprint?
CSI. It doesn't work that way.
Doesn't? Okay. So a photograph?
Nope.
If I go high, they just go, oh yes, excellent. There's enough pixels there.
That won't work.
On a glass, you know, like police evidence kind of things, powder?
No, that doesn't work.
Doesn't work?
No.
Nothing?
No, sorry, your television dreams are shattered.
If something goes wrong and I find that somebody's got my money that shouldn't have my money, will you give it back to me?
What you can always do is block your card with one phone call.
Is that a yes or a no, Georgina?
We review all customer experiences on a case-by-case basis.
Right, it's arrived. I've got a sort of like a card reader and the card itself. And I'm going to need that little black box to kind of register my thumbprint on the fingerprint reader. I've been invited to take part in a 3-month trial. The small battery in the reader is enough to power the card. After seeing my thumb from 5 different angles, it's happy it's got my print. Now, of course, Google and Apple Pay systems using our mobile phones linked to a debit card or credit card offer similar biometric security for payments. But your phone costs a lot more, needs to be charged, and it's a lot bigger. My new card is no thicker than a standard debit card. A strip down of it shows what's going on. On the right is the fingerprint reader. There's no battery inside, instead an inductive loop, shown here in red, acts as an aerial for the card to receive power from the card terminal. The 6 dots at the top are the programming port, and it's here in the microcontroller where my fingerprint is stored and verified, all on the card, so our biometric data never leaves our hands.
Coffee, please. Now, using the card is pretty much as easy as it is at the moment, except that you've got to put your thumb, or whichever finger you've registered, over the golden box so it can recognise it when you make the payment.
A green light flashes to show all's okay, and that my plastic's not in some trickster TV producer's mitts. Oz! Now, the other big bonus I've found is my new spending limit.
Normally, contactless payments cap out at £30, But this allows me to spend up to £100 because of the additional security. And I'm told that by the time it comes to market, well, that limit could be limitless, which means I could get my weekly shopping, fill up my car, or buy a bike just with a tap of my card.
So, knowing all that, will the card be secure? Gemalto is behind the tech.
The actual sensor we use is dynamic, which means each time it reads your fingerprint, it needs to have a 98–99% match. But if there's a slight variation, a micro scratch in your finger, it will take that into account. So next time, it knows that micro scratch will be there.
But does it then allow for somebody with a similar fingerprint to you to get into the system?
No, not at all. I mean, the variation is so small, there's not two people that would be in that level of variation.
This would be the biggest change to payment cards for a decade, if the banks back it.
So the UK-based RBS and NatWest trial finished on Wednesday. You met Georgina Buckley in Dan's film. Georgina, the trial has now finished. What have you learned?
Well, we had great engagement from customers, which was the whole purpose of the trial. They really enjoyed the look and feel of the card and the green LED lights when it works. That was really positive from customers.
Love a flashing light.
And also some of the retailers' technology needs upgraded, essentially to take biometric authentication, which we hadn't expected. So that was a really good learning.
So making these cards obviously costs a little bit extra, and you asked customers whether they'd be prepared to pay for these cards.
Yeah, we did. And we had mixed results from customers. So some said they were happy to pay a fee to have that increased authentication. Others weren't. Hopefully, as we're able to roll it out more widely, the average cost to produce them will come down, but we'll just have to see how that goes.
And assuming it all works, what's the next step of the plan?
We're now going to launch out biometric for credit cards. So we're going to launch that pilot next month, and slightly different experience. So we're not going to put a limit on it. So you'll be able to use your biometric fingerprint up to the limit of your credit card. Slightly different, and we should get different feedback from customers. And again, learn the positives, learn the negatives, and then use the pilot to fuel our innovation portfolio.
And when can we expect these cards to be deployed for everyone to use?
Well, I'm hoping we can process the learnings later this year and then look at a broader rollout next year.
There are currently an estimated 850,000 people living with dementia in the UK. And while the most commonly assumed symptom is forgetfulness, spatial awareness, perception and the ability to read faces are also hugely affected. Laura Lewington's been looking at some technological approaches to better understand this condition.
For those with a parent who's had what is known as frontal lobe dementia, there's a 50-50 chance of them developing it too. But a new study hopes to offer some promise for those at high risk by gamifying brain analysis, and an earlier diagnosis would mean the chance to try and treat the condition sooner.
Well, early detection of dementia is really important because what we're beginning to understand is by the time that people start noticing symptoms of dementia, like memory loss, there's actually might be quite extensive changes in the brain there.
This app is actually developed for 30 and 40-year-olds to use to help diagnose the possible early stages of dementia. Now, I have to say, I was a little bit nervous about doing this because I was worried I was going to find out something I didn't want to. But it seems that because it's still very early days for the trial, right now this will all just come down to some anonymised data, so I won't actually get that answer back. But the questions are all a mixture of whether you're going to get it right, the time that you're going to do it in, and whether you're going to be able to finish each section in time. And it's from that that the decision as to whether you already have early stage dementia or not can be made.
It's a series of 18 different games which test effectively different cognitive functions. So that might be executive function, it might be social function, it might be visuospatial, language, arithmetic. So the tests are designed to each in their own way test different areas of the brain. But you also get lots of simple benefits, such as being able to measure timings and accuracy of when people answer things and how they answer things. And so by being much more sensitive than a paper-based testing system, then yeah, again, you've got a hope of treating things.
This is part of a year-long study. The test is taken every 3 months, as well as a paper test at the start and finish. 20% of those taking part already have symptoms. The others are those with a 50% chance of developing frontal lobe dementia.
If we can show efficacy in the wider dementia population, then that might be something that can be used at a front line by GPs. But of course, it's very, very important to do that alongside genetic counselling and all of the other implications of a diagnosis that come with it.
I've got real hopes for the Ignite app that can help people with frontotemporal dementia by measuring the sensitive changes in their cognition and thinking that go in the early stages of the disease. And then as part of a wider study, that can be used to measure the effects of new and novel types of treatment and drugs to see if they are actually having a benefit in the performance on these type of tests and apps.
And of course, it's not just the patient whose life is affected. For loved ones, it can be a heartbreaking and frustrating journey, and often one that's hard to comprehend. Well, this is a VR experience that aims to put you in the position of the person who has dementia, to be able to help you provide a bit more empathy for a loved one, or simply understand more about the condition.
Use this voice.
Okay, my daughter's talking to me, but the voice is saying I can't hear her. I feel very disconnected from her, and I'm not sure if that's a deliberate part of the experience or just because she is a person in virtual reality.
Bob will be wanting his lunch at 1.
Why is she just chatting on the phone? She's not paying me proper attention.
She's agitated and talking about Dad again.
She's talking about me? I think this is probably how not to treat a relative with dementia.
No, I don't think it's time to be thinking about a home.
Oh, goodness. Oh, but apparently I've misheard and I want to go home. I don't feel safe here. Wow, it's all become a bit muddled. Well, it certainly stirs up quite a reaction. I felt frustrated, a bit confused at times, anxious, and actually quite hurt by the way I was being dealt with by my daughter. So I think there's quite a lot going on in the experience to think about, but I really could do with the opinion of someone who knows more than I do. Tim has worked in dementia care for many years and knows only too well the day-to-day challenges and the importance of dealing with them sensitively.
I'll just pop this kettle on the hob. It won't be long now. They can see the steam. Was that noise?
Dementia is not just about losing your memory, it can affect your perception as well. So this VR app was about, keeping track of a particular sequence of events to do something like making a cup of tea or taking your pills. The reality is we looked at some of those rooms, some of the floors are a bit shiny, and that, if your perception has been affected, it could look like a wet floor. When we look at a patterned carpet, that might look like perhaps animals or shapes moving in the floor. When we were the gentleman in the cafe and with the daughter, actually seeing that he wasn't recognising the timing, he thought he was going home for lunch, and then she was on the phone and ignoring him and speaking about him as if he wasn't there. Well, that's the wrong way to do it. You need to be with the person. They are there. They're a whole person. See the person, not the dementia. I think it really brought the experience to life, but most importantly, actually it showed what not to do sometimes.
What does this note say?
For a condition so widespread, bringing home the reality could be really helpful. And whilst it may take decades to see whether early diagnosis will make a difference to the outcome, the research is a positive step in the right direction, providing hope for many thousands of people affected by something so devastating. 2 red and 1 blue.
That's it for now. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to be recharging our batteries. So we're going to give you the chance to see, again, a couple of our favourite recent shows. We're still going to be here, though, on the end of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at BBC Click. So feel free to get in touch. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.